The Discovery. The celestial Voyager drifted silently through the void, its sleek silver hull reflecting distant starlight. Captain Lauren Vax stood on the bridge, six slender fingers pressed against the viewscreen, as she studied the object that had brought them to this remote region of space. Preliminary analysis confirms it's of human design, announced Chief Science Officer Trell. His translucent skin pulsed with bioluminescent patterns, a sign of excitement among the Nexaran. But it doesn't match any known configuration in our database. The structure before them hung motionless against the backdrop of the Orion Nebula, a massive cylindrical station with protruding spires and darkened observation ports. No lights, no movement, no energy signatures, just a silent sentinel floating in the emptiness. "How long has it been here?" Lauren asked, her crystalline eyes never leaving the image. Navigator Pella consulted her instruments. Cosmic radiation analysis suggests approximately 73 cycles, well before the human accords were signed. The bridge fell silent. The Nexaran were known throughout the galaxy as peaceful explorers, driven by an insatiable curiosity about the universe. They had established contact with 17 spacefaring species over the centuries, but humans remained enigmatic, cooperative in trade, but guarded about their history and technology. "This region is far from any established human territory," Lauren mused. "Why place a military installation here?" "You assume it's military," Trell replied, his skin patterns shifting to a thoughtful blue. "But we have no evidence." "Those are weapons arrays," interrupted Security Chief Davin, pointing to several protrusions along the station's hull. "Dormant but unmistakable." Lauren nodded. The Nexaran had never engaged in warfare, but they recognized its tools. "Prepare a standard greeting broadcast on all frequencies," she ordered. "Then initiate a comprehensive scan, perhaps we can." She stopped mid-sentence as text suddenly appeared on the station's hull. Glowing red symbols in an ancient human script that their translation matrix quickly decoded. "Do not scan." "A defensive protocol," Davin suggested, mandibles clicking nervously. "Automated." "Or a warning," whispered Pella. Lauren's skin rippled with determination. The Nexaran exploratory mandate was clear: knowledge must be pursued, especially when others sought to conceal it. "Humans guard their technology jealously," she said. "This station might contain advancements we've never seen." Scientific Officer Trell, proceed with the scan. Trell hesitated. "Captain, perhaps we should." "That's an order," Lauren said firmly. "Low intensity at first, will increase gradually." Reluctantly, Trell activated the ship's scanning array. Energy waves pulsed toward the station, invisible fingers probing the ancient structure. For several moments, nothing happened. Then the screaming began. It started with Ensign Meller at the communications station. His skin flickered wildly through colors the others had never seen a Nexaran produce. He clutched his head, eyes widening to perfect circles. "Something's inside," he shrieked. "Something's looking back." Before anyone could respond, the ship's lights dimmed, then brightened to painful intensity. The computer terminals displayed impossible symbols, not Nexaran, not human, not any known language. Images flashed across screens, worlds burning, stars collapsing, beings of shadow moving between realities. Lauren lurched toward the scanner controls, but her body suddenly felt wrong, as if her limbs were disconnected from her consciousness. "Abort scan," she managed to gasp. "Too late." Across the bridge, crew members collapsed one by one. Some simply slumped over their stations, while others vanished. Their one moment gone the next, leaving only empty uniforms. Through swimming vision, Lauren saw Trell backing away from his console in horror. His skin had gone completely black, a color no Nexaran could naturally produce. "It's not a station," he whispered. "It's a beacon. It's been waiting for someone to notice." The view screen changed, no longer showing the human structure but something else, something that defied comprehension. Space itself seemed to bend around the station, stars shifting position as if reality was being rewritten. And then darkness claimed Lauren Vax. 3 cycles later, the Nexaran High Council convened in emergency session. The disappearance of the Celestial Voyager, one of their most advanced exploration vessels, had sent waves of concern throughout their society. "The last transmission was fragmented," reported Intelligence Director Zenkor, her aged skin barely phosphorescent anymore. "Most was corrupted, but we recovered this." The chamber's central display showed a single image, the human station with its warning glowing brightly. Beneath it, transmitted in Nexaran emergency code. It's not what it seems, do not approach, do not remember. Council leader Navar leaned forward. Do not remember, what could that possibly mean? We don't know, Zen admitted. But we've detected an escape pod on the edges of the system. It appears to be from the Celestial Voyager. The pod contained a single survivor, Science Officer Trell. But the Trell they recovered wasn't the same bright, curious scientist who had embarked on the mission. This Trell's skin remained fixed in a dull gray, eyes vacant and unfocused. For days he said nothing, until finally, during a neural support session, words spilled out in a torrent. It scanned us back, he whispered to the medical team. The station isn't a station, it's a prison or a cage or a door. They built it to keep something in, but we let it out. It travels through memory, through knowledge. The act of understanding is how it spreads. Who built it? Asked Dr. Lyron gently. Humans, Trell replied, his voice suddenly stronger. They discovered something long ago, something ancient, something that waits in the spaces between thought. They couldn't destroy it, so they contained it. They built shells, ships, stations, and left them as quarantine zones. But why not warn other species? Trell's laugh was hollow. They do not scan, but curiosity is stronger than fear. His eyes focused suddenly, locking with Lyron's. It's in me now, fragments, pieces. I can feel it trying to remember itself through my memories. Within hours, strange incidents began occurring at the medical facility. Staff reported hearing whispers in empty rooms. Equipment malfunctioned, displaying the same unknown symbols seen on the Celestial Voyager. 2 researchers working directly with Trell vanished without explanation. The High Council ordered a complete quarantine of the facility, but it was already too late. Similar reports emerged from spacecraft that had recovered debris from the Celestial Voyager, crews experiencing hallucinations, memory losses, unexplained disappearances. It's spreading, Trell told a hastily assembled team of scientists, his skin now occasionally flickering with symbols rather than colors. Not like a disease, like an idea. Once you know about it, it knows about you. What does it want? Asked Zenkor, who had insisted on being present despite the danger. To remember itself, Trell said. It was fragmented, scattered across space and time. The humans found one piece and realized the danger too late. Now it's using us, our curiosity, our knowledge, our technology to find its other parts. The Nexaran, a species that had built their civilization on the pursuit of knowledge, now faced a terrible choice. Continue their quest for understanding and risk unleashing something incomprehensible, or retreat into ignorance. They chose a third path. Warnings were dispatched to all known species. Avoid human installations, particularly those that appeared abandoned. Never scan them, never attempt communication. If encountered, retreat immediately. But not everyone listened. The Krell trading vessel Profitable Venture discovered another human station near the Cygnus Rift 3 weeks later. Captain Jordo, known for his disregard of regulations, ordered a comprehensive scan despite the same warning appearing. Their final transmission was broadcast across all frequencies. The stars are wrong, something's changing how we remember, don't look for us. Similar incidents multiplied across the galaxy. A Vexen exploration team vanished while investigating a derelict human outpost. A Haredrim science vessel reported crew members speaking in unknown languages before all contact was lost. Each time, the pattern was the same, curiosity followed by catastrophe. Yet Earth remained silent. Human vessels continued their normal trade routes, but refused to acknowledge any questions about the abandoned stations or the growing fear they inspired. In a bold move, the Dravik Empire, a militaristic species with little respect for warnings or boundaries, dispatched a battle fleet to capture a human station by force. Admiral Crozen, addressing his crew before departure, declared, "We will not be frightened by shadows and superstition. We will seize this technology and unlock its secrets." The fleet of 7 warships never returned. In their place, 3 new stations appeared, identical to the first but bearing the Dravik Imperial insignia alongside the human warning. As fear spread, so did a new message, whispered in dreams across a dozen worlds. The silence is mercy, curiosity is the infection, do not remember. The galaxy began to change. Species that had shared knowledge for millennia now guarded their discoveries jealously. Trade routes were altered to avoid regions where human stations had been sighted. And in the darkest corners of space, more silent sentinels appeared, waiting patiently for curious minds to find them. Waiting to be remembered. The reckoning. Historian Jaron Mech hunched over ancient archives in the Great Library of Thonis, his scaled fingers trembling as he pieced together fragments of forgotten knowledge. Once the most respected scholar of the Aloran Academy, he now worked in secrecy, labeled a conspiracy theorist by his peers. "You should rest," urged his assistant, Naira Feldon, her feline eyes reflecting concern. "You've been at this for 3 cycles without sleep." "Sleep is dangerous," Jaren muttered, not looking up from the holographic text. "That's when the whispers come, that's when I feel it, searching." Naira sighed. Like many throughout the galaxy, she had initially dismissed the rumors about human installations and vanishing ships as mass hysteria. But the evidence had become impossible to ignore. In the 6 months since the Nexaran had encountered the first station, 17 vessels had disappeared. Strange phenomena plagued dozens of worlds: memory disorders, technological failures, inhabitants speaking in unknown languages before vanishing without trace. "Have you found anything?" she asked. Jaren nodded grimly. "There's a pattern, look." He gestured at his findings, displayed across multiple screens. "These incidents, they're not random. They're concentrated along what were once ancient human exploration routes dating back to their first interstellar missions. Before the human accords. Long before, this goes back to the beginning of their expansion over 3 centuries ago." Jaren's finger traced a path across the star chart. "And there's something else. Each affected region corresponds to unusual stellar phenomena: neutron stars, pulsars, black holes, places where space-time itself is fragile." Naira leaned closer, eyes widening. "Are you suggesting that humanity found something during their early explorations?" "Yes." Jaren pulled up an ancient text, its language archaic even by human standards. "This is from Earth's pre-space era. A theoretical physicist named Harman Werner proposed that certain cosmic phenomena might create memory wells, regions where consciousness itself could be stored like data. Most dismissed it as pseudoscience, but..." His words trailed off as the library lights flickered. On every screen, symbols appeared, the same incomprehensible patterns reported by survivors of encounters with the stations. "We need to leave," Naira hissed, pulling at his arm. "Now." They fled the library just as the archival systems crashed. Behind them, other researchers clutched their heads in pain, some collapsing, others simply staring into space with vacant expressions. "It knows we're looking," Jaren whispered as they hurried through Thonis's crowded streets. "It knows we're trying to remember." Across the galaxy, fear had transformed into action. The Dravik Empire's humiliating defeat had shocked the galactic community into unprecedented cooperation. Representatives from 28 species gathered aboard the Galactic Council's neutral space station, the first full assembly in over 50 years. Council Delegate Thorm Vex of the militant Skarn Collective pounded his armored fist against the conference table. "While we debate, more ships vanish, more stations appear. We must strike against humanity directly, force them to explain these weapons they've unleashed." "They're not weapons," countered Ambassador Lorien of the Nexaran, her skin pulsing anxiously. "Our survivor described them as containment structures." "Containment that has clearly failed," Thorm bellowed. High Minister Pax of the Ilarian Republic raised a slender hand for silence. "What troubles me most is Earth's continued silence. Our diplomatic missions go unanswered. Trade continues, but all inquiries about these stations meet with denial or evasion." "Because they're hiding something," came a new voice from the entrance. All eyes turned to see Jaren Mech and Naira Feldon, haggard from weeks of evading the spreading phenomenon. Historian Mech, Pax acknowledged, surprise evident in her tone. "We had heard disturbing reports about the Great Library. We feared you lost." "Nearly," Jaren admitted, approaching the council table. "But I found what I was looking for before it found me." He activated a data crystal, projecting ancient human records across the chamber's central display. "Earth has been fighting this war for centuries, not against any species we know, but against something far older, something they awoke during their first interstellar missions." The assembled delegates watched in horrified fascination as Jaren presented his findings: classified human expedition logs, theoretical papers on non-corporeal intelligence, and fragmented reports of entire colonies experiencing mass psychosis before falling silent. "They called it the Echo," Jaren explained, "an entity or force that exists within memory itself. Their scientists theorized it was once a vast intelligence that somehow embedded its consciousness into the fabric of spacetime, perhaps during the universe's formation. When fractured by some ancient catastrophe, it scattered across the cosmos, dormant until awareness touched it again." Humans found it, Naira continued. Their curiosity awakened fragments of the echo. Those who encountered it directly simply vanished, but not before the echo learned from them, used their memories to strengthen itself. Jaren nodded. The stations aren't weapons, they're prisons. Humanity built them to contain the fragments they discovered, knowing they couldn't destroy something that existed partly outside our reality. The warnings were genuine attempts to protect other species from their mistake. If that's true, Pax asked, why not simply tell us? Because knowledge is its vector, Jaren said softly. The more who know about the echo, the stronger it becomes. Every mind that comprehends its existence becomes another potential host. Silence descended on the chamber as the implications sank in. We are already infected, Lorien whispered, skin paling to a ghostly white. By gathering here, by sharing this knowledge. We've accelerated the process, Jaren confirmed grimly. As if in response to his words, the station's systems flickered. Strange symbols flashed across displays. Several delegates clutched their heads in sudden pain. It's here, Naira whispered. Admiral Zeth Ravos of the Aurelian Defense Fleet had never considered himself a superstitious man. As commander of the most technologically advanced warship in the quadrant, the Indomitable, he had faced pirates, hostile species, and spatial anomalies without hesitation. But the mission before him now tested his resolve. Target in visual range, reported his tactical officer, Commander Jasha. Her usual confidence was noticeably absent. On the view screen appeared another human station, identical to the dozens now reported throughout explored space. Dark, silent, with the same warning etched in glowing red across its hull. Status of the Coalition fleet, Zeth asked. All vessels in position, Admiral. 17 ships from 11 species, the largest cooperative military action since the Scourge Wars. Zeth nodded grimly. After the Galactic Council station's communications had gone dark, with only fragmented distress signals escaping, decisive action had finally overcome political hesitation. A desperate plan had formed. If the stations were prisons for fragments of this echo, perhaps destroying them would eliminate the threat. Human representatives had neither endorsed nor opposed the plan. Their ambassador had simply stated, "We cannot help you, we cannot stop you, but we have tried this before." All ships maintain maximum distance from the target, Zeth ordered. No scans, no active sensors, weapons only. The Coalition had agreed on overwhelming force. Antimatter warheads delivered simultaneously from every vessel. Enough destructive power to vaporize a small moon. Firing solutions locked, Jasha confirmed. All ships report ready. Zeth hesitated, an uncharacteristic moment of doubt seizing him. If this entity exists in memory, he mused aloud, can physical destruction truly harm it? We have to try, sir, Jasha replied, though her voice wavered. After what happened to the council station. The reports were fragmentary but horrifying. Over 300 delegates and staff vanished without trace. The station itself remained intact but transformed, its interior reconfigured into impossible geometries. Now it drifted as silently as the human installations, bearing the same warning. Commence synchronized countdown, Zeth ordered. All ships fire on my mark. As the seconds ticked down, strange whispers filled the bridge, not through the communication systems, but directly in the minds of the crew. Ancient words, impossible concepts, memories that belonged to no one present. 3, 2, 1 fires. Brilliant energy streaked from every Coalition vessel, converging on the silent station. For a moment, the void blazed with apocalyptic light as antimatter met matter in a reality-rending explosion. When the blinding flash faded, Zeth leaned forward expectantly, only to recoil in horror. The station remained untouched, unchanged. But space around it had altered. Stars shifted position, their light bending unnaturally. Reality itself seemed to warp, as if the fabric of existence were being rewritten. Impossible, whispered Jasha. Our sensors confirmed impact. It's not in our reality, came a strained voice from the science station. Lieutenant Varn stared at readings with wide, disbelieving eyes. The energy passed through it without effect. It's like trying to destroy a hologram by bombing the light. Before Zeth could respond, the station's surface began to change. The warning message shifted, reformed, expanded. Do not remember, too late, we remember you. Panic erupted across the Coalition fleet. Ships broke formation, some attempting to flee, others firing desperately at the station despite the proven futility. Aboard the Indomitable, crew members began to exhibit the now familiar symptoms: disorientation, speaking in unknown languages, some simply vanishing from their stations. "Emergency jump," Zeth ordered. "Get us out of here." "Drive not responding," Jasha reported, voice rising in panic. "Something's interfering with the—" She stopped mid-sentence, eyes widening as she stared past Zeth. He turned to see what had captured her attention and felt his blood freeze. Where the view screen had been, there was now something else. Not a hole, not a portal, but an absence, a section of reality that refused to be perceived correctly. And emerging from it, shapes that defied comprehension, not solid, not energy, but something in between. "It's coming aboard," Varn whispered. "It's—" His words cut off as he simply ceased to exist, not disintegrated, not transported away, but erased as if he had never been. Zeth made a desperate decision. All hands neural suppressors, full dosage. It was a last resort, drugs designed to induce temporary cognitive shutdown in case of psychic attack. If the echo traveled through memory and consciousness, perhaps the absence of both would protect them. As his crew scrambled to comply, Zeth injected himself with trembling hands. His last conscious thought, as darkness claimed him, was a desperate hope that humanity had been using this defense all along, not hiding, but simply refusing to remember what they had found. 3 months later, the galaxy had changed irrevocably. The Coalition fleet's destruction marked the beginning of a new dark age. Species that had shared knowledge for millennia now isolated themselves, destroying interstellar communications, abandoning outposts, retreating to their home systems. Humanity finally broke its silence with a single broadcast to all known worlds. "We tried to contain it, we tried to warn you, now we must all forget together." Throughout human space, a coordinated operation began: neural suppression on an unprecedented scale. Billions voluntarily entered a state of technological amnesia, their most advanced knowledge erased, star charts deleted, histories rewritten to exclude all mention of the Echo or the regions where it had been encountered. Other species followed suit, each in their own way. The Nexarans submerged their great libraries beneath their oceans. The Dravic Empire executed anyone who spoke of the stations or the missing ships. The Aelorans developed memory-altering drugs that selectively erased dangerous knowledge. A great forgetting swept across the stars, a desperate attempt to starve the echo of the awareness it needed to fully awaken. Some resisted. Underground networks of scholars like Jaren Mech argued that knowledge, not ignorance, was the only true defense. They worked in secret to preserve what was being erased, believing that understanding the enemy was the first step to defeating it. Most were never heard from again. In time, the stations themselves began to disappear, not destroyed, but simply gone as if they had never existed. The incidence of vanishing ships and colonists decreased, then stopped entirely. For a generation, the galaxy held its breath, wondering if the threat had truly passed. Then, on a remote world at the edge of explored space, a child looked up at the stars and asked a simple question: "What's that?" Her parents followed her pointing finger to see a dark shape silhouetted against the local sun, cylindrical, with protruding spires. Silent, waiting, patient beyond human understanding. And on its hull, glowing faintly, new words appeared. "We remember everything, do you?" The cycle began again.